No matter what we do, everything has a beginning and an end, especially from a time point of view. Some people might say, well, that sounds German. Well, it does indeed. However, what I'm speaking about today is an international issue. International issue about how to deal with time when you are a leader. There was a case that went viral, and due to the management of that case, the organization prevented that the name of the organization was passed around and that leaders or certain team leaders were mentioned by name. What we're going to hear now is a case where you think it starts pretty bad, but wait for it, what's going to happen. And then, of course, we have to look at what do we learn from it and how can we do it better. The case was the following. There was a meeting that was scheduled from 4 to 5 p.m. on a Friday afternoon, and due to delays during the day, it was rescheduled. Well, not really rescheduled. In Germany, we would say you were late. That is something which we frequently like to say because many people are late and we are not. Sorry, that's just a stereotype. Starting 4:30, of course, means the meeting will not end on time. So the meeting probably was meant to go until 6 p.m. However, at about 5 p.m., one employee said, thank you very much for attending this. And I'd love to stay longer. However, I can't because I got family plans and I'm leaving now, looking forward to reading the meeting minutes, the protocol that you're going to write and send to me. However, I'm now off to the weekend. Thank you very much. That is where aspects of the meeting properly escalated, because the leader of that department that was part of this meeting, who scheduled the meeting, went on a rant. And I don't mean a polite notice. I don't mean a remark where you could say that's maybe feedback. No, that person went on a proper rant that it's, and I quote, unethical to make plans straight after work. Because just because your contract says you work 9 to 5, you always should have time before and after. So you should always have from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. free time, just in case that, and I quote, things are there to do. Couldn't be less specific. However, this rant only had one reaction. The employee started laughing. It was a remote meeting, locked out of the meeting, wished everyone a nice weekend, but locked out of the meeting. And that was the end of it. However, the employee escalated that to the next higher level of management and said, look, this is what happened. People tell me I have a contract here. And although I am just an employee, not a leader, not sitting on the board, they told me your task is to have time from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m., which is not 20%, but more than 20% more than you pay me. So what is your point of view on that? And the next higher leader said, sorry, your team lead was wrong. And your team lead was told, and also this is not only corporate policy, but also corporate culture. We are focused on getting work done. We are not focused on sitting there from that time to that time, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. The focus is always on getting the work done because that is the most important for the organization's clients as well. So, of course, the leader of the next higher level apologized and said they're going to talk to the other leader who showed the wrongdoing. And by the way, this whole scenario happened in a remote working world, as many other organizations that are keen to get talent, and maybe looked into the Gallup studies where you know that quite a high number, about 1/3 prefer. So more than half prefer to do a hybrid world, but at least 1/3 of the talent market prefers to work remote only in the future, if available. Well, you have to face the challenges you have then. And in this case, the leader clearly misbehaved. So, of course, now we have to look at how to do it better. So first, we have to say any leader that behaves in the way we saw here, that someone says you are paid from 9 to 5, but you have to be available from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m., that is completely unacceptable leadership misconduct. And it has to be mentioned exactly that straightforward way. Because when people tell you we pay you X, but we expect more than we agreed, that is either stealing time from you or at least invading your private sphere. And that, without any doubt, is unacceptable. If you are keen that work hours get paid, which is, by the way, neither the most modern nor the most progressive approach to work, then you should be aware of the fact that you cannot expect more than you agreed. If you, of course, say, well, we all have to be flexible today and we all can expect the extra mile and we all can expect that people are very engaged and very proactive and very customer focused and very X, very Y, very Z. So you expect everything that you normally would expect from senior executives, from every employee. Then, of course, this comes with an amazing payment. And an amazing payment means very high payment, cash on the account of the employee. Not one of these great payments where you say, oh, such a nice atmosphere, and you get a coupon for the local gym. And in relation to that other person or that other country, your payment is great. No. When we talk about you expect everything going extra, 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 you will offer extra high pay. And let's face it, most people do not do that. So we now have to talk about how to do it better. By the way, it was completely correct that the employee escalated this to the next higher level. Because if you don't, the only consequence would be the leader gets away with it, and then it becomes part of probably organizational culture, which develops to a culture you do not want to have. Of course, and that has to be criticized as well, it is not helpful when you want to criticize someone, you just burst out laughing. That does not create the most pleasant atmosphere to criticize someone or to deliver feedback. However, when someone tells you something which is so wildly off the marks and off the wall and off the record, probably, then you can understand to a certain extent in the effect of the events, you can say that this reaction was probably not intentional. That is also a legal aspect from it. When certain people misbehave straight in the moment, there's also a legal aspect to it. You can look that up. Then you see people cannot be punished for the instant reaction, except when they do it deliberately, and you can prove that. However, when someone tells you, I pay you for 40 hours, but you have to be here for 50 hours unpaid, having a bit of a smile or laughing is probably a reaction which I can understand to a certain extent. However, I want to make very clear it's not helpful in due course of feedback and solving the issue. Still, it is always better to have the self-confidence to address the issue. It is way less the behavior you want to have that people simply accept it, then start to talk behind your back, and you create this toxic atmosphere that poisons your whole organization, where you have the leadership level who only talk amongst each other how bad the employees are, and the employees have their own chit chat behind your back and say how bad are all these leaders, and everyone is only keen on getting away with the least amount of contact to the next higher level or the next lower level. And at the end, you see that you're not very productive, but also you basically created two worlds, while on your website you claim what an amazing culture you have. People who start working for you will quickly realize that this is not the truth. However, now we have to look at what can we learn from it. So first, it was very good that the next higher level of leadership addressed the issue immediately. We did not see what we often see, that they say, oh, that's not great, but I have so much to do, I get back to you later. Well, we know this is in most cases not happening. Or they say, we're going to follow up, and the follow-up is, yeah, it wasn't great, sorry, but moving on. Or that they say, well, just don't take this too seriously. You know how this person is. This is just how they are, and we accept that, because it is not acceptable to behave in that way. It is very good that the next higher level of leadership also ensures the employee that it was correct to do so, and also not to punish the leader of their level immediately, but giving them feedback to see how do they react. Also very good from the executive level here that they said we focus on flexible working hours, work from home, work from anywhere. We're focusing on getting the job done, not sitting there with a stopwatch, just clocking down your time second by second. We are focusing on getting the job, the tasks, the work done. And of course, the feedback afterwards, when the executive talks to the team lead, you have to see what is the reaction, how can we get better. When you then see that the team lead does not really agree with you, then you probably have to escalate it or get external help or whatever you decide to do. However, if you don't do any of that, and we have countless organizations where they say, come on, just don't take it too seriously, moving on, then you will find the feedback on glassdoor.com or the German-speaking area on Kununu or whatever platform you have where people are allowed and able to give feedback about their organizations. And by the way, that is leadership's fault if this happens. But what's the main issue here? The main issue is that once more, and here's an issue now, which not only I can relate to, it's an issue which I did wrong as a young leader by myself. The issue here is that you say, well, we all want to have a career, and career means you go the extra mile, and that means you have to be a bit flexible with working hours, and we all want to work hard and work more flexibly and work longer. So how can someone dare to say 5 p.m. I'm leaving here while we're in the middle of the meeting? The main point here is just because you like it doesn't mean that anyone else has to like it. I give you an example. For me, career, money, having the influence, having a corporate career, self-employment, starting my own business, and successfully growing it and selling it at the end was very important. However, not many people have the same attitude towards work, especially not today, which is, by the way, their right. And when you now say, sorry, we only want to have the people with the attitude of working hard and working long, well, that comes with a price tag. And now look into your payroll, and then critically rethink, do you pay accordingly to what you expect from other people? And let's face it, for most organizations, that is a very clear no. And I give you another example. I'm recording this podcast right now. It is in UK time speaking. It is Saturday, 20th of August, when I'm recording this, 7 minutes past 9 p.m. And there are quite a number of people who say, well, on a Saturday evening, I would prefer to do something else than recording a business podcast. Well, that's your choice, and here's my choice. However, I cannot say my choice must be the choice of other people. I am back on business travel by tomorrow. I have to get up at 7 a.m., which on Sunday most people wouldn't like as well, probably. However, it was my career choice. I don't do it every weekend like that. But next week, this is just how it is, because next week I have 5 days fully booked the whole week. So I have to be well prepared. If other people say, I'm happy with a career to a certain level, I'm happy with a payment to a certain level, and I deliberately agree on a certain share of my life given to business. However, the rest is my life, my decision, and not work. That is perfectly correct, and that's perfectly fine for them. When I was in my young 20s, mid-20s, as an executive, where I'm very thankful that the corporation gave me the chances they gave me, these people corrected me in one way, and they were rightfully so. I often, especially during projects, demanded from people and said, look, this is a corporate project, very important. We all want to have a career. So you have to go the extra mile, work longer, work more flexibly. And the next higher level very quickly told me, Niels, they don't. Because not everyone wants to have the career you want to have. Other people focus on completely different aspects in their life. And you have to see that this is not all about career, payment, money, influence, corporate, whatever else. This is your choice, not their choice. You can never expect that what you have done works for anyone else. And I give you an example, which you probably have heard in your life. Some senior executive told you, well, I have done XYZ, which normally means I have worked longer, I have worked harder, I have done this and that, and this is how you grow a career. And when you do the same, you will get the same result. And that is very, very important here. That is, from a scientific point of view, nonsense. When someone does something and tells you do exactly the same and you will have the same result, this is 100% wrong. We have different times, different aspects in society, different aspects in organization. If you only change, for example, your gender, male, female, or any other gender identity you might have, if you only change what is your social upbringing, what is your background of education, where do you come from, which significantly influences the amount of time, for example, you have to spend at work. There are many aspects where you can say, when these people do exactly the same, when a white, straight, cisgender man does X, Y, Z, and we simply say a black transgender woman does exactly the same, you will not get the same result, unfortunately, in today's times. I'd love if we had the same results, but we do not. And especially background, social upbringing, how much money your parents had, how focused they are on education, and of course, the network in which you grew up. These are aspects which significantly influence where you end up in life. And often it is not the amount of work. It is more the amount of privilege that someone gave you. So please don't tell anyone, when you do the same I did, you will get the same result. Because we have a different setting compared to the person's background, you cannot simply reproduce that. Always be aware that you lose your social legitimization as a leader when you claim, do the same as I did and life will be fine. Because that is, and I unfortunately have to put it into a very straightforward way, that is 100% nonsense. So when we now learn from the mistakes of others, or as we see here, a mistake was done, next higher leadership level, probably an executive, catches up immediately, addresses the issue, gives feedback, and probably solves it. That is the reason why this issue went viral on social media, but never in any posting the organization, the company, or the people were mentioned. And I'm sure if someone would tell you, hey, are you interested in 60 million people reading XYZ about you? Then probably you want to say, well, probably without my company name and my name in it. Absolutely correct. It is very important now that you simply have to stick to one straightforward rule in the beginning. Do not derive your actions being the actions other people want to do as well. Except, of course, when you have an agreement, when you have contracts that say from 8 to 6 is the working hours, they want to be in the selected circle, talent pool, whatever you call it. That is a completely different game. However, if that is not the case, never derive your action, never derive or never come to the conclusion that your actions are the actions other people like to prefer as well. And of course, when you now say, I think we have that issue in my organization, what to do? Well, first thing now, and that's your next step, you have to agree, how do you deal with working hours? What is the focus? How is this issue handled in your organization? And of course, this has to become part of your organization, part of your company, probably has to be written down somewhere and agreed by absolutely anyone to become part of organizational and leadership culture. From a certain size, of course, you need written agreements, maybe including unions. This is all a bit formal. I'm not a big fan of having everything contract here and you have to record the time here and there. However, I fully agree that from a certain size of an organization, the informal agreement is not a valid option anymore. When you have thousands of employees, and my company, the company I grew, never had thousands of employees. If you have these kind of settings, then you need written agreements, especially as, for example, laws, compliance, or both otherwise may get you in serious trouble. So be sure that you are compliant with the laws you have in your country while listening to this. And of course, there's more about this when you go to expert.nb-networks.com. I published about this. You can go to expert.nb-networks.com, put your email address in there. Every Wednesday morning, you receive an email, of course, 100% content with an ad-free guarantee, where you see everything I published, of course, free of charge, fully accessible and fully available to you. Very important here is that it's only available free of charge throughout that means. And of course, when you now say, Niels, I got a bit of a question here. Can we talk? Of course we can. So for example, when you say, I have a question, I have a very specific question. Is this fully confidential? Yes, it is. Just write me an email, nb@nb-networks.com, and then we either start to exchange our ideas and talk via email, or we just agree on a chat and take it from there. However, when you now say, I have something very specific, training, speaking, coaching, consulting, or you need mentoring, you need a project manager, interim manager, or you say, hey, we have an event. Can you speak at our event or can you host our event? Of course I can. However, we can just talk about the questions you have as well. It's completely free of charge, nb@nb-networks.com, and let's take it from there. Because the most important aspect from here is that you apply what you heard here, because only when you apply these aspects, you will see the change in your organization, the change you want to have. And probably, maybe we have someone who's listening to this either during business hours or maybe in their spare time, maybe on their commute, or maybe even during vacation, or maybe during some evening where you say, for you, it is normal to go the extra mile to listen to this, because you know when you do it during business hours, work will not be done and you focus on work first. However, we are, and I include myself here, we are the people who are at the highest risk of doing it wrong, because we made a choice to focus a lot on work and life. However, we cannot expect everyone to do the same. And let's face it, life wouldn't be great if everyone would do so. So let's do it right and get anyone on board to grow the organization to where we want it to be. Very important now, apply what you heard in this podcast. And at the end of course, when you now think, can someone help me? Of course, I'm happy to help you here. But at the end of this podcast, and for this week, there's only one thing for me left to say. Thank you very much for your time.